Hi, it's Andy, and today I'm bringing you my Q1 stats and book haul. So first, I'm just going to say I have decided to start wearing my glasses pretty much more than I have been, because I am I wear my glasses. My glasses are strictly for when I use screens, because for some reason the screens just, I'm going to move this over so it doesn't, I'm trying to not let things reflect off of it, and it's just not working at all. My glasses are mainly for when I'm working on screens, because screens just seem to trigger my migraines. It doesn't matter that I've got the orange filter over the top of it, it just causes migraines, and nowadays I'm finding that it's happening quicker and quicker. I can only be looking at like a screen for 5 minutes and I start to feel the pain in the back of my eyes that sort of tells me that something's brewing, as it were. So I think I'm going to be wearing my glasses more. So if it reflects the ring light over here, or the ring light over here, or the screen down here, we're just going to have to deal with that. If you hear noises in the background, that is either the dogs across the road barking, which they've just been doing, or Hamish trying to get comfy, because I've been up here organising to get this video filmed, and Hamish has only now just decided that he's going to be helping. So he's just sort of plodding around trying to decide where he's going to lie down. That's what that is. If you're like, I hear weird noise, it is Hamish, who's also panting because he's run up the stairs and he's like... So I've got my laptop here with all my stats and things on it. As always, I will go through my stats first and then go through the haul. So if you only want to watch one or the other, if I'm not holding up books, we're talking about stats. If I'm holding up books, I'm talking about haul. It's that easy. And those dogs are barking again. Stats wise, we will start as always with the books read. So Q1 is Q1, so that's January, February, March. So in Q1, I read a grand total of 34 books, which breaks down into 10 for January, 10 for February, and 14 for March. Pages wise, that equates to 13,083 pages total, with 4,051 for January, 4,292 for February, and 4,740 for March. No idea what was on in March. No idea what happened in March, but I just obviously hit my stride at some point. Now, going into genres, it's actually reduced the number of, I've only read 3 genres, which I usually try and read some non-fiction, but I've kind of read through all my non-fiction. I seem to have just sort of distilled it down basically to 2 genres, as we will see in a second. So, genre split. I read 13 romance books, 19 science fiction and fantasy books, and 2 historical fiction. As I always say, the science fiction fantasy, I actually I accumulate both my... anything that could be sci-fi or fantasy, I put together as SFF, because sometimes I struggle with trying to differentiate. So there's some books that to me are sci-fi, but they kind of almost blur into fantasy, or vice versa. Or like you think they're fantasy and then at the end you find out they're actually sci-fi. And I'm like, where does that line? I don't know where the line is. So I'm not going to judge that, I'm just going to bundle it into the same category. Looking towards representation in my reading, we have 23 books with LGBTQ+ rep in them, which is 68% of my reading. 7 of them have disabled rep, which is 21%, and 4 of my books were from authors of colour, which makes it 12% of my reading. Reread wise, 7 of the books I read were rereads. I actually thought there was more rereads because I've been focusing more on rereads. I think that's going to change Q2 because I've started rereading the Shadowhunter Chronicles alongside rereading the Suki Stackhouse books. So I think that'll probably go up in Q2, but we'll see that when we get there. Now, last year when I was doing these updates, we were updating my library size as well. And it looks like I've got no books in these. Well, technically I don't. So the shelf down here is my Fourth Wing shelf, as you can probably see from the mug. And Vicky still has my copies of Fourth Wing, Iron Flame and Onyx Storm. So they will be back there once Vicky gives me them back, once they are read. And up here is all my Frankenstein editions that I'm thinking about moving to give myself an extra cube. but I'm not sure where. I've just like, see, Frankenstein. So, yes. Last year I was tracking my library because I wanted to get to 1,000 books, and since I managed that last year, since I surpassed that, I'm no longer doing an update on my library numbers. If you really want to know, feel free to ask in the comments. I think it's somewhere it's less than 1,100. I know that because I am still on hauling books. In fact, there are 4 very hefty stacks over there of unhaul books. I also need to check my spreadsheet to make sure my unhauls are all off the spreadsheet, but it's less than, it's between 1,000 and 1,100. I actually think it's like between 1,000 and 1,050. Like, that's the range we're in at the moment, so I'm no longer doing those updates, but I will be trying to get my TBR down to a 0 TBR this year, so I will keep you updated on my TBR. So we ended Q4 with 32 books on the TBR, and we ended Q1 with 23 books on my TBR. There we go, there are the stats for the video. Like I say, if you want to ask me anything else stat-wise, I can look it up for you if you're interested, so just ask in the comments. Now on to the haul portion of the video. As I discovered when I was pulling this together, this haul section may not be completely accurate because there was one book on there there's one book that I added because I was like, I know for a fact I hauled that this year, and I did not put it on my haul list. So this is as accurate as I can. I've had a look around, and I think we're now accurate. I do tend to unbox things in vlogs, so you may have seen what I've hauled in vlogs, so I may be missing something. It doesn't particularly matter. So the first book I'm going to show you, and the one that got left off of the list by accident, even though it's the second book I've read this year, and one that I'm really looking forward to the sequel, is Silver Elite by Danny Francis. I have been hearing so much about this book that eventually I just caved, bought a copy off of Vinted, just in case I didn't like it. That way I didn't invest too much in it, and I don't think the paperback is... No, I don't think the hardback is available anymore. So, yeah, I just got it off Vinted. If you can't find something, check on Vinted or Depop or Pango or whatever is available in your area secondhand. So, this book, I've seen wild speculation online about it, and I can't remember what it was. I think there was somebody that I really have quite a lot of things in common with reading-wise who really enjoyed this book. And I was like, do you know what? Let's just give it a try. I ended up loving it. So, this is very... It's very like 2010s dystopian. So you've got your main character who has abilities, but she's hiding because abilities in this world are not allowed. And then one day she's caught and she's sent to, she has to pretend to not have these abilities. And she is sent to this academy as punishment for something else that's happened, where she has to try and hide what she is and infiltrate from the inside. And it's, yeah. I love this book. I actually really enjoyed this book. Next is The Things We Leave Unfinished by Rebecca Yarros. Now, I have never read anything by Rebecca Yarros other than Fourth Ring. But again, I heard somebody say that she's a really good romance author. And this book in itself is both historical and romance. So it's a split timeline. So you've got the, I believe the granddaughter, the great-granddaughter, and then the gran, or the great-grand, whatever, I can't remember, the gran and the granddaughter. And the gran was living in the UK during World War II, and she was part of the, I can't remember if it was the WAF or a different thing, but she was an officer in the army. I think it was the army. It was the army or the RAF, I can't remember. That's terrible. And then she moved to America. She was a prolific writer, and Georgia, the granddaughter, has to deal with her mother trying to sell her grandmother's last book, but it was unfinished, and so she brings in a prolific writer that Georgia doesn't particularly like, and that her grandmother didn't particularly like, to finish the story. And so it's about Georgia and Noah. Is it Noah? Yeah, Noah. Oh my god, look at me getting character names right. Georgia and Noah have to write this book together, and sort of on the way they discover things about her grandmother in the past, because it is her story and how she met her grandfather and yada yada yada, but you also then go back in time and see that from the grandmother's perspective and how she, you know, her family life, her going into the army with her sister, and then meeting the grandfather, blah blah blah. I love this, and I was really surprised, really surprised at how well I liked this. Next is a pre-order paperback of a book I already have, and that is Heavenly Tyrant by Jiren J. Zhao, and this is the sequel to Iron Widow, which is one of those books that I said that I didn't think I was going to read because I didn't think I was going to like it, and then I loved it. So this follows our protagonist, obviously, as the consequences of the last book come to fruition. This is I can't remember what it was exactly. I can't remember the crossover that was put about the first book, but it was likened to Pacific Rim, and I love Pacific Rim. Like, I don't know, this might seem weird to you, but I love Pacific Rim. It was one of those movies that I watched when I was younger over and over and over again. I don't know what it is, but I just really, really enjoyed the dynamic of the pilots and the big suits. So if you don't know Pacific Rim and if you don't know this book, you're like, what are you talking about? So basically there are these giant machines. So there are these creatures in the water, and they're like giant creatures, humanity-ending creatures. And so to deal with that, the humans have created these massive robot things that are piloted by usually two pilots. I can't remember in Pacific Rim if it was two pilots or not, but in this they're piloted by two pilots, and this is a retelling of the first Empress of China. And so in this world it is based on sort of Chinese culture, and so in these, I think it's Gondons they're called. I've not read this for so long, so I may be getting it wrong. But in these giant these giant robot things that they've created, they have a male pilot and a female pilot, and they are powered on chi. And so the male pilot is kind of like the main pilot, and the female pilot is just there. She's not even a pilot. She's there as a battery for the man because, yeah, patriarchy. And our female main character wants to get revenge because her sister was one of these batteries, and she decides she is going to join up. She's going to go and find the pilot that killed her sister by basically using her up, and she's going to kill him. And things do not go to plan, and things spiral unbelievably. If you think you know at any point what's going to happen in these books, you're wrong. You're wrong. Next is the opposite way around. I got a hardback of a book that I already have the paperback edition of, and that is Long Live Evil by Sarah Rees Brennan. Now, I mistakenly thought this was the regular hardback edition because I got this from my friend Emma, which I also got the next book from my friend Emma, and I thought this was the regular edition. Turns out it's the Fairly edition. It's the Fairly edition. She just gave me this. She will not take any money for it, and I am still a little bit salty about that. So yes, this is the Fairly edition of Long Live Evil by Sarah Rees Brennan. I loved this when I read it. This is about a girl who is dying of cancer, and a mysterious stranger turns up at her hospital bedside and says, what if I can save your life? And she's like, yeah, sure, great, amazing. Hundreds of doctors have no idea, but you can do it. Amazing, great, fantastic. Sarcasm. So she's like, I can put you into the story of your favourite book and you get to live again, basically. She's like, yeah, sure, I believe you, 100%, let's go. And so she's pulled into the story of her favourite book. But she doesn't become like herself in this book. She doesn't become a random nice character. No, she becomes the villain. And she knows the scene well enough when she pops into existence in this world that she's about to die. Like, the character is about to be killed, and so she's like, I need to talk my way out of this. And she does, and she makes changes and does things to the story that cause like ripple effects and cause changes to the direction of the story to happen, and in ways that she just cannot conceive would happen. Like, she thought she had a handle on this, she doesn't have a handle on this. It doesn't help either that she doesn't quite remember all of the story and where it's meant to go and who's meant to be who. So I absolutely love this. I'm so excited for All Hail Chaos, which I actually have an arc for, although it comes out next month, so I need to get on that. I only just got the arc this week, so it's not like I've had it for ages, but I'm very, very excited to get to book 2. And the other book that I got from Emma was Tales of the Celestial Kingdom. I won't say from then, it's of the Celestial Kingdom by Sue Lynn Tan. This is a short story collection to go along with the Daughter of the Moon Goddess, Son of the oh, I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, the Celestial Kingdom duology that I read last year or the year before, I really enjoyed, and I really wanted this edition, I really wanted this book, but by the time I'd read the books, I couldn't get it in hardback anymore, and I didn't want to get a paperback and mix it with hardback, so then I was like, do you know what, I don't even want to read it, it's fine, I'm not interested in short stories, blah blah blah. But then Emma was like, I'm getting rid of it. And I was like, I will take that. Thank you very much. So yes, I ended up with this. So yeah, it's just short stories. It goes from, I think it's told in like 4? Dawn, Dusk, Twilight and Dawn. So it's in 3 sections. And so Dusk is before the stories, so before the books. Twilight is during the books, or in the middle of the books, like between the books. And Dawn is after. And Dawn was the one that I was really interested in, because it's not that it ended unsatisfactorily, but I wanted to know what happened next. So that gave me what I wanted, and I actually really enjoyed it. Next is the Book of Blood and Roses by Annie Summerlee. This is the start of a new series. I am not entirely sure what the series is going to be called. It probably says somewhere. But this is set in the Scottish Highlands, and it is a school for vampires, like a university for vampires. And for the first time ever, they are letting human students in. And one of these human students is Callie. But her name is really Rebecca, and I think but she goes by Callie. I hate trying to talk about this book. So she is part of a vampire hunting group called Callisto. Come on, Andy, get it together. She's part of a vampire hunting team or organisation called Callisto, and she is sent in there undercover to find the Book of Blood and Roses, which is supposed to be deep, deep in the school in like a hidden library. And when she's there, she is made the roommate of this very infamous, shall we say, vampire, who is also the heir to this, like the highest ranking family of vampires. They do have a democracy, but it's not very democratic, if you get what I mean. And this family are kind of the ones pulling a lot of the strings. But as it turns out, she's not quite like her family, and there's a lot more going on than either of them realise. Next is The Wild Card by Stephanie Archer. This is the last book in the series. I absolutely adore the Storms. Like, this hockey series has been, I think, one of the first I ever read. I have the first 2 books in the indie editions, and that was before they were picked up, which well deserved to be picked up. And now we have 5 books, and this is it. This is the conclusion to the Vancouver Storm series. And it's very, very sad. This follows the bartender / bar owner of the bar, take a shot every time I say bar, that the team go to after games and just generally spend their time at when they're, want to go to a bar or something. And the coach of the team, she finds herself in a position where she needs to help the team to not basically end up in a untenable position. So she works with the coach to try and save the team, save their legacy, basically. And yeah, this was a great finish to the series, and I love it. Next is Catch Her If You Can by Tessa Bailey, and this again is the 5th book in the Big Shot series. I think that's the name of the series. The first one's Fangirl, then The Au Pair Affair, then Dreamgirl Drama, then Picture Perfect. I'm looking at them, and this is a interconnected standalone series. You don't necessarily need to read, you don't really need to read one to read the other, but there are small connections that just sort of like have a through line. So like Fangirl Down, the main female character of the next one, the Au Pair Affair, is her best friend, and the guy is his best friend. And then Dreamgirl Drama, the male main character is on the hockey team with the guy from the Au Pair Affair. Picture Perfect, the guy is on the hockey team with those 2 guys. And then Catch Her If You Can, the male main character is the best friend of the female main character in that book's brother, and the female main character in this is her best friend. They just sort of did it onto each other. So this follows our main characters, Madden and Eve is a struggling business owner. She owns a burlesque club. It used to be a strip club, and her whole life, because her dad owned the strip club, she's been getting nothing but abuse from the town. She wants to turn that reputation around, turn that sort of opinion everybody has of her on her head, and let them see the value. This reminds me a lot of, now that I think about it, kind of like Hopeless, how the reputation is undeserved because the reputation is based on other people, and like how their behaviour then reflects on you, and that's not it. And so she also is struggling because she's taken on her sister's 2 kids, because her sister, I think, goes to rehab. I want to say she goes to rehab, and So she's got this extra expense, this extra stress, and then one of them gets really sick and suddenly the hospital bills are looming ahead of her and she needs help. Enter Madden, who offers to marry her. He is an MLB pitcher? No. The guy who catches the ball. Catcher. Like the one behind the guy hitting the ball. You know, like the pitcher, and then there's the guy hitting the ball, and then there's a person like crouched behind him to catch the ball. That's him. I don't know what the terms are. And so he has just made it into the MLB, which is the Major League Baseball, and so he offers to marry her, and it means that she will get all of his health benefits, which will then go on to the kids as well. And so they enter into this fake marriage, but they've both kind of been in love with each other since they were children, and he is very open about it, and she's very much like, no, I'm not interested, when secretly she really is. Next is apparently Sir Cameron Needs to Die by Greer Struthers. This is the Waterstones sprayed-edged edition, and this is about Sir Cameron, who is a pretty boy knight who never gets into any fights, who never really pulls his weight, who gets lost a lot of the time and ends up staggering into a fight after it's already been finished, and is like, oh dear, oh well, let's go home. And he is also gay. And in this world, it is ruled by the church, basically. It is a fantasy world, but it's still like they have like a monotheistic, very Catholic-like religion ruling the place. And so he cannot let anybody know he's gay, other than the people he's hooking up with. So at the start of this, we have Murillo, who's the sorcerer, the mad sorcerer, who goes to the king's advisors and says, I'm going to kill God. And they're like, yeah, sure, of course. Yeah, of course you are going to kill God. Amazing. Yeah, can somebody get this guy out here? But no, he's serious. He is going to kill God. And so they enter into this war with Murillo, and like 40 years later, enter Sir Cameron. And so there's this prophecy showing that if Cameron dies, Murillo will not be able to kill God, or he will not be able to fulfill his purpose. And so Cameron's own people decide to turn on him and kill him to win this war. But he runs and he runs to the only person who benefits from him staying alive, and that is Murillo. And they enter into this weird relationship. Might not be weird to everybody, but for me, like, Murillo's just really mean to Cameron, and Cameron quite likes that Murillo is mean to him. I don't quite like it. I don't like the way these two interacted. Unfortunately, it was not for me. I know other people who really liked it. It's funny because you get a split almost right down the middle, ironically. There are some people who love the first half, did not like the second half. There are people who love the second half, did not like the first half. I've never seen anybody yet say they loved the whole book. I've seen first half yes, second half no, or first half no, second half yes. I'm very much first half yes, second half no. And so overall, this book just wasn't for me. But if you like silly, goofy, absolutely nonsense with a tiny, tiny touch of not necessarily bully romance, but like, he's really not nice to Cameron. Like, there are so many lines I would have drawn to be like, right, I'm not putting up with this. It's almost like, to me, it just verges on abuse. But Cameron enjoys it, so it's not, like, it's just not for me. I just can't. And lastly, in January, I got Better Hate Than Never and Two Wrongs Make a Right, which are books 1 and 2 in this series. It is the Wilmot Sisters series by Chloe Leese. I got book 3 for Christmas, twice actually, and so I decided to get myself books 1 and 2 to complete the series. I have read all of these. I actually had an arc for Once Smitten, Twice Shy, and so I ended up having to read these on KU to get context to read the books. This is Chloe Leese's, like I say, Wilmot Sisters series. It follows, as shockingly, the Wilmot sisters. This follows Jamie and B. B is autistic and really quite upfront and brusque with people, which don't know whether could be autism, could not be. I don't know. She just is, and so she doesn't really get along very well with Jamie, who is very like, oh yeah, I'm not sure sort of thing. But her sister, who's getting married to this total asshat, and said asshat, decided to try and set her up with Jamie, the asshat, so that she'll get off her sister's back because she knows he's an asshat, and her sister because she just wants her sister, like, she just wants her to be happy. They are twins as well, by the way. Her and her sister, whose name I can't remember, which is terrible. And so they decide to fake date and make everybody think they're like getting along and everything, and then break up and ruin everybody's day. But actually they kind of start getting along, and actually maybe they do kind of like each other. And yeah, I love this. It was hilarious. I love B. I think I love this relationship so much because B is so chaotic, and he just absolutely, he's like, it's like Jane Seymour in Six. He is this, like, he is got a heart of stone. Like, he will stand there and take all of the nonsense and just be like, yeah, cool. Whatever. Better Hate Than Never is the second book and follows the youngest of the sisters, and she had a kind of boy next door relationship with this guy, who was, funnily enough, the boy next door. His family moved into the house next door when they were younger, and they were best friends for years and years and years. And then they entered into a relationship and something went wrong and they broke up, and since then she has hated him, like to the point of trying not to be in the country while he's there. She doesn't want to be around him, but circumstances end up with her having to stay, I think she's back in her mum's house and he's still next door, so like she ends up having to, like, it's kind of like a forced proximity, hate to love situation, like second chance, childhood, best friends to love it, like friends to love it. It's all the things. And I actually really enjoyed it. One Smitten, just to round off the series, follows the twin of this one because thankfully Asshat gets the boot, and she decides to go travelling, and then actually has to come home because she's become unbelievably ill. Turns out she has a autoimmune condition that makes her unbelievably ill, and turns out the guy she met in, I can't remember if it was Ireland or Scotland or wherever it was she was, and kissed on New Year's, is the friend of this guy and has come to stay with him. So that gets awkward. I love these books so much. Okay, that's January. Now on to February. First thing I hauled in February was Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen. Yes, I have 2 copies. No, this was not on purpose. One of these copies has missing pages, and so they had to reprint it and send it out again, and I have yet to look and see which one is the one that I am keeping. So I just have both sitting on the side, so I decided just to grab both because I always think it's quite funny that I have 2 copies of the same book accidentally. So this follows Evelyn, and Evelyn has lived many, many lifetimes, and in each lifetime before her 18th birthday she is killed, and the person who is doing the killing again is like Evelyn, reincarnated in every life, and they're destined to kill each other. So either she has to kill them or they have to kill her, and this cycle starts over and over again. But in this life, Evelyn has decided this will not be happening because her sister, her current sort of biological sister in this world, has cancer, and she is, her life basically is going to be determined by getting a bone marrow transplant from Evelyn. But Evelyn is almost 18, and so she knows that she is running out of time to save her sister, but she desperately, desperately wants to save her sister. Now this, you do go back and forth, so you see their previous lives, and I think, I can't remember if it goes in any particular order, like it gets longer, like further and further away, or it gets closer and closer and closer. I think it's closer and closer and closer, but I can't remember. I can't remember. But I really enjoyed this. It leans a lot more YA. I don't know if it is YA or not, but it leans a lot more YA. Even so, I enjoyed it. I just thought I'd mention that for anybody who is thinking about reading it. Yeah, if you enjoy dual timelines or multiple timelines and reincarnation and stuff like that, this is really good. Next, my order of the Murderbot series came in from a Limit Crate. These are the Limit Crate editions. I shockingly managed to only buy the Limit Crate ones. So we have All Systems Red and Artificial Condition in Volume 1. We have Rogue Protocol and Exit Strategy in Volume 2. We have Network Effect, which is one of the novels, and then Fugitive Telemetry and System Collapse in Volume 3. I adore Murderbot. Murderbot is a sec unit who has managed to hack its own governor module, which is the thing that controls it and controls it being a robot. And it just wants to watch its TV shows and be left alone. But it still has a job to do, and that's being a sec unit, but it does not want to be discovered. So the sec units themselves are a composite of, composite isn't the right word, I can never remember the word, construct of human neural tissue and skin and robotics. So it has some like human tissue and some or like inorganic like robot parts. So it's mostly robot, but it has human brain tissue and it has some blood mixed in, and it has human skin. that sort of thing. So they almost look human, but they're not, and it acts not quite human, but very relatable to humans. My friends didn't make me read this. My friends just kept saying to me that I am Murderbot, basically, and eventually I caved and read it, and I loved it. Of course, same thing happened with Heartstopper. We're not going to talk about it. So I got these beautiful editions because I just love them. Next, I got the deluxe edition of For Whom the Bell Tolls by J.C. Lynn. If you've not heard me talk about this book, then I'm very smart. This is the, it's got art and, oh, there we go, and the edges, and it's just absolutely stunning. This is about a character called Lily, and sorry, I'm trying to get the dust jacket back on properly. This is about a character called Lily, and Lily has cancer, as she finds out in the first chapter, and then she goes through her the rest of her life deciding she doesn't want chemo. She's in her 30s, or mid-30s I think she is, and she decides she doesn't want to bankrupt her family to try and cure cancer that she will never cure and will kill her in maybe a couple of years if she does chemo, and so she decides to not do any treatment. She dies and she wakes up in the afterlife. So this is about Lily sort of coming to terms with the afterlife. She came to terms with the fact that she was dying very quickly, goes to the afterlife and is kind of bored. She gets her paradise, which is a hobbit based one. She has a hobbit hole, and she decides to go for a wander down to hell. She has a lot of religious trauma. She refuses to even look, she can't even look at the doors to heaven, and decides to go down to hell because all her life the church going nice people in her life have been telling her that her behaviour, being bisexual, getting tattoos, that sort of thing, being assaulted by men, will cause her to go to hell because of her behaviour. Yeah, okay, and so she decides, you know what, I'm going to go to hell. I'm going to go down to hell and I'm going to be like, up yours. So she goes to hell and makes friends with the demons and starts the help desk, where it's like a customer service desk in hell, where she gets to talk back. Now this is so much more than that. So if you have watched Hell's Bells on TikTok or TikTok or Instagram, or she's now putting them up onto YouTube, it is a skit that she does where you are like, it's Lily talking to people across the desk and then other people that then join the help desk and the demons, and it is spiraled into something incredible. It's like my comfort watch. This is pre-help desk. This is before that series started, and this is how Lily sets up the help desk and things that happen to other characters and how she meets other people and demons and befriends them, and I love it. It is honestly unbelievable. I love this so much. Next is To Complete by Ali Hazelwood. This is a novella that I believe was an audiobook only, and then they decided to publish it, and this is about two game creators who kind of do roughly the same job-ish, but they have different specialities in it. So like he does a lot of like action stuff and she does a lot of story stuff, but they still like are game developers, and they each work for small game development companies who have been asked to work on this particular game together, because as the size of the game means that each company couldn't do it on their own, so they're asked to do it together. But these companies hate each other, and so they're sent on a retreat and they're told basically get your shit together. And it's about these two kind of even dealing with like their issues with each other, the company's issues with each other. It's so much fun. So much happens for such a small book, but I really, really wish it had just been a bit longer. Next up is the Fairy edition of Brigands and Breadknives to go along with my Fairy editions of the other two books. This is the third book in the Legends and Lattes sort of series, and this follows our main character whose name I can't remember again. It's the mouse, the ratkin that you meet in Bookshops and Bone Dust, and she's still feeling not quite at home, and so she decides drunkenly that she's going to go on an adventure and climbs into the back of someone, this adventuring elf maiden, into the back of her cart, and wakes up in the morning and is like, oh, that was a bad idea, please tell me that we're still in the place we were. I can't remember where it was. Turns out, no, they're not. She definitely is now on an adventure, and so she decides that she's going to wait till the next stop and she's just going to go home. But she gets embroiled in the adventure with the elf maiden and with this goblin that the elf maiden is trying to get it's like a bounty sort of thing. I believe the goblin is the one we meet in Goblins and Greatcoats, if you've read that short story. It's a free, I think it's on Travis Ball's website or something. This was not my favourite of the books, but I enjoy the like constant movement element of the story. Next up is another Vinted find. I was all over Vinted, apparently, the first quarter of the year, and that is Direbound by Sable Sorensen. This is book 1 in the, I don't know, Wolves of Ruin. Here we go, that's what it's called, series, and the second one comes out next month, and I'm very excited to get to it. So Direbound is, people keep saying it's like Fourth Wing, but with direwolves, and I see what they mean. So there are these elite fighters who are bonded with direwolves, and they fight with the direwolves. There's war going on in this other place, with this country of vampires who are basically trying to infiltrate the main character's land so they can get extra, you know, food. Food being the people. But in the little village that she lives in, people have started to go missing. Children have started to go missing. And one day her sister is taken, and she decides she's going to join the army, she's going to go to the front lines, she's going to go across the front lines into this other land, find her sister, bring her back. Does that sound insane? Absolutely, but she is determined. But she does not want to bond with the direwolf. She's not interested in that. She just wants to get to the front lines as fast as possible so she can get over there and try and find her sister. Unfortunately for her, through the trials, she ends up bonding with the direwolf and discovers that actually things are a lot more complicated than she could ever have imagined. I'm not a fantasy reader. Like, I don't really read that much fantasy, or at least I don't read a lot of like high fantasy, so I did not see where this was going to go at any point. I knew she was going to end up bound to a wolf. Like, that wasn't surprising in the least, but like some of the other things that happened I didn't see coming, because I have no reference point for what's going to happen. Just to tack on to my Vinted finds is Quicksilver and Brimstone by Callie Hart. I ended up getting these editions on Vinted for like £24, including postage and packaging. Not each, together. So that's less than I would have paid for, or like just slightly more than I would have paid for one. Unfortunately though, the person was a smoker and the smell hasn't quite abated yet. But you know what? For that price, it's fine. It'll go away. So Quicksilver is about our main character who lives in this sand dune of a world, basically. She lives in this country where the whole thing is desert. They have 2 suns. They have no nighttime. It's always day. Excuse Hamish having a wee he's rubbing his face and stuff on the carpet. So she lives in this world. So water is at a premium. It is rationed, and not fairly. And they never have night. They're always being baked under these 2 suns. It is sand wall to wall, and they have no other societies within striking distance of them. So one day she steals a golden gauntlet from one of the Queen's guards, and you just don't do that. And so they come after her and find her brother. And so in trying to save her brother, she sacrifices herself and is taken to the prison in the castle, where she is sentenced to death, basically. And in her last sort of death throes, she accidentally activates this pool of Quicksilver, and through the Quicksilver comes this Fey Knight, and the Fey Knight decides to take her back with him. A kind of like last minute sort of decides, fuck it, let's grab her and take her back with her, and she's pulled into this Fey dimension, as it were. Like all the other books, again, so much more going on than she could possibly understand. This follows on from this book. This gave me the same feelings as my dystopian fantasies from the 2010s. I really enjoyed this. I loved the audiobook for Brimstone. I actually think Brimstone was much better, simply because we got Kingfisher's perspective. So this one's a dual point of view. This one is a singular point of view, and I much prefer the dual point of view, so I hope you'll continue with that. Or even add more POVs. I don't even care. I love this. I'm so excited for book 3. It's been announced, but we have no cover and we have no these editions for me to order. And the last book I got in February was And Now Back to You by B.K. Barson. This follows the weather person from the weather guy from the radio station that we meet in book 1, which is First Time Caller, and Delilah, who is the bane of his existence and also supposed to be the weather person for the TV studio across the road, or in the next building, but she is currently being given really stupid assignments by her boss, who she's pretty sure hates her. The guy's a total douche, by the way, just to preface that. And these two are set to report on the biggest storm of this area, like a historical storm. And so they are sent out to this place where the storm is going to be at the worst. And it's like the small town in the mountains. It reminds me a lot of Emerald Lake. So if you've read Perilous by Elsie Silver, there's a section where the characters have to go get some hay for the horses. And so they have to go to Goldturf Ranch, which is over the mountains from where they are in Chester Springs. And while going through it, they stop off at this place called Emerald Lake because it's halfway between and there's a snowstorm. And that's what this reminded me of Emerald Lake, because there's the lake, there's the mountains, there's the snow. That is basically it. This is why it reminded me of that. But when a blunder happens on a live mic where these two are caught smooching, things got a little bit haywire. And yeah, I love these characters, and it's just, this to me was better than the first one, but that's just maybe a bias thing. Almost there. Now the books I got in March. So the first book I got in March was In Her Own League by Liz Tomfordy. This is the last book in the, it's technically a Windy City series spin-off, but it follows the character from the Windy City series that we meet, Monty, and the other people are still there. So I kind of see it as like just a slight extension of the Windy City series, which kind of is what a spin-off is, so yeah, whatever. And this follows Monty and Reese. Reese is the new owner of the baseball team that Monty works for. He is the head coach, and he's pretty sure Reese hates him and is trying to get rid of him. So he's trying to figure out why she hates him, how to get on her good side, and also just decide, does he actually want to keep his job or does he want to retire? Reese, meanwhile, is dealing with being the first female owner of a Major League Baseball team in the US ever. And so she's getting sexism from right, left, centre, up, down, 360, the whole way around. And she kind of needs Monty on her side because everybody loves Monty. Everybody loves Monty. But she doesn't love Monty. She does not like Monty. But mainly she doesn't like Monty because she's attracted to him and she doesn't want to be sort of having a dalliance with one of her employees because that would look really very bad. But she has been in the baseball space since she was a small child. She was brought up by her grandfather, who is the previous owner of the team, and she just wants to make her team better. She just wants to do a good job. She just wants to put her heart and soul into this job and is just being blockaded, like I say, left, right, centre, up, down. And I love these two. I love the fact that she is so strong and she doesn't need anybody's help. Like, he tries to help her and she's like, you sit down, babe, I've got this. Like, I love Reese so much. Next is Secrets of Blackthorn Hall by Cassandra Clare. This is a book told in mainly letters with some text threads as well. And it is basically about the Blackthorns, as you can imagine. It does span, I think, from memory, it does span from like, or is it Better in Black that does that? I'm pretty sure this does span like the more modern times and older times and pulls together a lot of things that may be relevant in the next series. So I would advise reading this if you're going to read the next series. Like I said, I'm doing a reread of the entire Shadowhunter Chronicles, so this will be a reread at some point. But yeah, basically it's just vignettes and I do love the art though. Vignettes and letters and text threads and, you know, little encounters to do with Blackthorns, to do with Blackthorn Hall. And yeah, I think it really does set up for the next book. Next is a book I'm sure everybody will know at this point in time, and that is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I do already have a copy of this, but I decided to get myself a movie cover tie-in, just from, I think from FOMO, to be perfectly honest. Tesco were doing a deal where it was 2 books for £9, and so I decided to pick up a copy. Look at the Hail Mary. Yeah, I decided to pick myself up a copy, and get my mum a copy because she didn't have a copy at all. Just so that I had it. Which, do I need it? No. But I wanted it and it was cheap, so there we go. Next is First to Finish by Rebecca J. Caffrey. This is I don't know if it's a follow-on directly, but it is her second F1 male-male romance. And this follows a driver who is having a bit of a tough spot and one of the engineers for the team who wants to get his driver back on top form. But I believe there's going to be a little bit of romance in here. It's a queer romance, so we'll see how that goes. I really enjoyed the first one, or her first book, so I'll be interested to see where this goes. I know nothing about F1, so it's nice to just enjoy and not be able to pick apart the technical side of it. Next up is Unbound by Peyton Corinne. This is book 3 in this what is going to be a 4-book connected series. There's connected standalone series, and this follows Bennett and Paloma, and we meet Bennett and Paloma in the previous books. Bennett is the goalie of the team. He also has OCD and autism, and a gorgeous server stock named Seven. And I love him so much. I love Seven so much. And Paloma is kind of like the it girl, the party girl, the one that has been sleeping her way through, drinking and sleeping her way through basically all the sports guys at the university. So people don't really have that good an opinion of her. But Bennett actually met her before she became that person. And they've kind of been almost best friends. They did have a little bit of a relationship, but then things fell apart for Paloma. And she pushed him away, but they stayed friends in a weird way. This story broke my heart. We're not crying over a book right now. This story was so heartbreaking and so poignant. You get to see a different side of Paloma because we meet Paloma in the other books, and the other characters don't have the best opinion of her. Like, they're not mean about her, but they don't have the best opinion about her, and she doesn't help that. Like, she will purposely push people away and make them, like, not like her, because that's just her thing. That, like, she really struggles with herself, and in this we go back and forward. So we go back to their first year at university where they meet and all this happens, and then we see them in their current senior year, where they are reconnecting, and Paloma is kind of just trying to get back to really being herself. Next are books 2, 3 and 4 in whatever the series is. Silver Pine series. I really need to get my series names right. I have Riding the High, Training the Heart and Freeing the Wild. I'm not 100% sure what order they go in. I think Riding the High might be the next one. I think Training the Heart might be the next one. And then Riding the High. I'll figure it out once I'm reading them. But I got book 1, sensibly, I might say, bought book 1 only to try it out, and by the time I finished book 1 I was fuming that I couldn't just pick up book 2 straight away. And so when I went up to Aberdeen to see the Friends musical with Tori, we went out to the works, W.H. Smith and Waterstones, and I think I got 2 from one shop and 1 from the other, whatever ones it was. I got 1 from Waterstones and 2 from W.H. Smith, I believe it was. Yeah, so I ended up getting all these 3. I do, spoiler alert for next quarter, I did get the newest and last book, which came out this month, so very excited to be reading this series. This is a small town cowboy romance series, kind of ranch romance. A cowboy comes under cowboy romance. It is thingied for people who are fans of the Chestnut Spring series, and I do, so far, from Holding the Reins, which is the first book, I do understand why people say that. So it follows this family. The first one is his sister, and I think that's brother. I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember how many there are. But it's this small town community where everybody knows everybody else's business, and the family own a horse ranch. So this one, there's a new trainer who, I think the oldest brother has to work with her, and he instantly dislikes her. And she's instantly like, well, up your suit. This reminds me a lot of the first Gold Rush Ranch book, Off to the Races, in that sort of sense. So I'm not ready yet, but that's the vibe it's given me. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed Holding the Reins, so I'm excited to get to these 3. And lastly, I ended up picking up these 2 books, which are Untamed Heart and Reckless Vow by Gemma Moore. Tori has read this and really enjoyed it. This one has a main character whose name is Hestia, and so I decided to pick up the series. That is a terrible reason to pick up the series. Also though, look at the pretty. These are from the works. I think I got, like, these are really cheap from the works as well. Everything's cheap from the works. So yeah, this is a cowboy romance, and it is the Diamondback Ranch series. Yes, Diamondback Ranch, and I honestly, the first one, again, like Holding the Reins, has a female main character whose partner has just cheated on her and she decides to go home. And that's all I really know about the series, other than the fact that Tori recommended it to me. There we go. Those are the books I hauled in the month of January, February and March. I had 11 in January, 12 in February and 10 in March. I realised I didn't actually say that out loud at any point, but those are the numbers. 33 books in 3 months is not too shabby if I do say so myself. I am thoroughly enjoying the books that I'm reading this year. Most of these books I've already read, either by KU and then picking up a copy, or just immediately reading it when it came to my door, or borrowing someone else's copy and then getting my own copy. I've already read most of these books, but I'm looking forward to the ones I hadn't read and to the rest of the books I pick up through this year. If you've read any and you think there are some I need to get to like pronto, please let me know in the comments. If you want to let me know you are here but you don't want to write a whole comment, if you leave me some kind of cowboy emoji for all the cowboy romance I seem to have on my TBR. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!